This is a special occasion. We are here to discuss a big pay-per-view. UFC 266 is just days away at this point. 2 title fights, plus the return of an MMA icon, and we said, BC, if there's going to be the return of an MMA icon to the cage, we need the return of a morning combat icon.
The OG.
To help us break it all down. Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell, the man in the hat, Chuck Mindenhall. This is a UFC 266 preview, which we don't even have a formal name for yet. But here we are. We are in Jersey City. You can see the skyline behind us. And it's a beautiful day in September. We are days away from the fight. And gentlemen, we are ready to discuss this.
And if people want to know what are we supposed to expect from you guys on the roof, we're going to preview this card how men do. Because this is how men do.
Oh, here we go.
This is right. We get drunk and we say things we later regret.
First of all, 18 months.
Wow.
18 months, boys. I think I was on MK 18 or 20. It was in that range. You guys are on like 200 now, so a full 180 shows.
Salud.
Yo,
cheers
I
to see you
promise
guys.
you are not the Gary
Vertical
Sharon
movement.
of MK history, okay? You know what I'm saying? You know?
Listen, Chuck Mindenhall is a fucking superstar and got dicked by the pandemic. Because when we had to go to Zoom, the whole show changed, then I got involved with CBS and everything changed, so we couldn't bring him in. But now we're here in studio, and we said, we got him.
You guys couldn't have done worse than The Athletic, which treated me like it was 4th and 20.
Yes.
And just punted me right out of there. And the whole combat team.
But to be clear, as Luke said, the pandemic was like Peter North to you. You know what I'm saying? Like that thing just went after it. But great to have the hottest free agent. You know, it's like the Monday Night Wars in pro wrestling. You show up on one show one night, you come on ours the next.
That's right, man. That's right.
Yeah.
But we're here to discuss UFC 266 because it is a good show. It's a great show with important fights and, as we mentioned, the return of Nick Diaz.
International Fight Week, sir.
Yes, sir.
That used to
and
mean
the Hall
something.
of Fame.
And the Hall of Fame. You know, usually that was done in July,
right?
And they have pushed it back this year to September. Do you know why they did that? I don't know why they did that.
I don't know. I think it's just because they didn't have one last year, and they're trying.
Also, the pandemic's in a slightly different stage than what they could plan for before
July.
So whatever.
I think that's it.
Here we are. 2 title fights. The return of Nick Diaz. It's a weird place to start, and I'll tell you why. Because the title fight at 145 is big. Valentina Shevchenko taking on a very deserving, which we'll talk about, Lauren Murphy, is super important. But dude, if you look at the numbers online on what the UFC has, for example, posted on their YouTube channel, it's Nick Diaz or get the fuck out. Like the fans are clear what they care about most.
And the cool thing about it, and Luke, you and I did the resume review on Nick Diaz. Hopefully we didn't curse him. We'll see what the universe says to that. It was reliving such a fun time in like UFC history when Nick Diaz was like a fucking action star. He was the man.
Yeah.
I think this fight card's going to bring back some of those fans who kind of went away in the corporate UFC era to come see like the return, like Axl Rose is back with Guns N' Roses. It feels like one of those type things.
It's no longer Buckethead, Gino.
Well, wait, so like go back. When did the UFC actually sell? Was that in 2016?
July of 2016.
Okay, so you're talking about a full year prior to then. During the boom period when Conor McGregor, you know, Ronda Rousey, this is the last time he stepped in there. You know what I mean? It's like he's the last time he's in there. I think that we kind of connect him back to a simpler time in this strange way of saying that, even though, you know, like his whole, like what has happened to him since. But also, he had this thing with the marijuana, like the suspension and everything that happened there.
He's a pioneer.
He was, and everybody wanted him back. I would say, like, we talked way back on the MMA beat about, like, you know, how this guy's becoming almost a hero against this movement, you know, like, and here he is. All these years later coming, I really do think that a lot of it is nostalgia.
He's like Street Robin Hood.
You think that, like, because nobody ever used to talk about Strikeforce or stuff like that, but like now you look back at Strikeforce and you think, oh, there's the guy. This is the guy that came out of that and everything else.
Welterweight champion, never undefeated in Strikeforce. And since he has gone away, his brother's stock has shot through the fucking roof.
And it has raised, like, because Nate is so regularly also to like give credit to the Nick Diaz army and always says his brother is the greatest fighter of all time. That's almost raised the legend of Nick, even though the only thing active he's been doing is like show up in interviews bloated and usually drunk. To be honest with you,
did you guys follow him on social media during the last few years?
Yeah, sometimes it was hard. He looked like us right now.
He would,
you know?
honestly, I would check my Instagram feed and it would be like, you know how if they have a message on like their stories or whatever, like it shows up at the top and there's a circle to it. You would click it and it would be 50 photos or videos of him just walking through clubs or hanging out in Vegas, which is fine, dude. Like, live your life however you wanted. But I think there was a lot of us that at that time we were like, dude, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And here he is. Why did he come back?
Well, I think that there was always the dangling carrot to do it. And I also think that he's, we're not even talking about his like maybe social. I always feel like he has this, his biggest hurdle is not the fight itself, it's the social aspect of this fight, right? You have to talk to media, you have to do all these obligations. This has just never been him. And I remember during that, what was it, UFC 183? Was that his last appearance with Anderson Silva?
2016.
2016, or 2015, I believe.
2015.
Yeah. So like you go back to that, and I just remember he didn't really want to be there for that part of it. And,
I mean, we resume reviewed. He didn't want to be there, to be honest, for the last few fights. Maybe during the Condit fight, the GSP
after
fight.
Condit, he retired after Condit, remember? Yeah. And then he kind of came back a couple times with the same period and whatever, but he never showed up to the presser, which is why he lost in the first place, and like all this shit.
Can we act like fans? Because that's what we're kind of trying to just have fun with this game.
We're being fans.
How good, we got to give UFC credit when credit is due. How good is the matchmaking 17 years later to put him in there with Robbie Lawler on a 4-fight losing streak where I have zero expectations of what this shit show is going to look like, but I am so jazzed up for it.
Did you go back and watch the original fight?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so
it's pretty fucking fun.
It is funny because there's multiple facets to this. It's fun, yeah, 100%. Back then, Diaz is 20 years old, and Goldie is just fixated on Lawler's power, right? Lawler's stand-up and everything like that.
It was a big part of it.
It was a big part of it. But it's funny to review this type of thing. But it's also fun because Joe Rogan sounds like an enthusiastic, non-skeptical, non-paranoid. Like, he just sounds like this very enthusiastic guy.
Back when he was on uppers. Now he's on psychedelics and weed, and he's like, this is back when he's like, what an incredible moment. I mean, this is... it touches what I said when Luke and I did the resume review, the glory days of USC, true or false?
No, I think it does.
The Carl Parisian fight, the Sanchez fight.
So, like, the people, you've been following the sport, you've probably been following it a long time, too, like going way back.
UFC
so it's like,
4, basically.
You go back to that, there's this pride. Anybody who got in during the 2005 tough finale, anybody got in that, it was like, you kind of discounted, you kind of had to go back, you know what I mean? Like, to before that, for the people to think that they were a part of the actual UFC. For the longest time. Yeah. And I felt like, he was kind of, that fight was really set right in the kind of like firmament
also,
of that.
dude, like I remember, here's a big lesson. Passion for real cult figures, for the guys who you can say are like men of the people, passion for them dies slowly and very hard. I'll never forget, Campbell was whatever star he was in the Elite XC, and then he did the boxing in Australia, and then he came back and did MMA again, and he got Ultimate Fighter, which was big, but then he washed out of UFC, and then he goes to Bellator. Dude, he is still the most popular fighter in Bellator history by like a wide margin. Yeah. Like number 2 is not even remotely close. Why, dude? Because people who loved Kimbo Slice to start with, whenever they found him, YouTube or whatever it was, they hung on to that because
That's true.
That Diaz army, they have been in hibernation.
When did it occur though? Because I look back at that. So like UFC 47 is when this first fight happened. I feel like that was sort of his moment of arrival because he'd had a previous fight with Jeremy Jackson.
Yes.
And I think that one kind of put him on the map a little bit for UFC fans, like 20-year-old knocking out Lawler.
He submitted Jackson, and then he fought Lawler, and he face planted him.
Yeah. Perfect counter right hook. It was like, oh shit. But I think forget the punch and the meaningfulness of the win in terms of his arc. It showed that he wasn't just a submission guy, that he was a badass street fighter. And I was telling Luke, it's like,
that is true.
When I say it's the glory days, Chuck, I
mean,
the
essential of Diaz started to come out there, right?
And it's back when you used to have to fight to win. It wasn't about skills as much. Now, if you were a brawler, but you had skills, you would have eventually get to the top. But it was more about fighter versus fighter, who's got the balls. That's why we fell in love with Diego Sanchez, one of Nick Diaz's opponents on that rise. But guys, how do we even begin to forget being an expert? It's just a fan. Like, what the hell is this fight going to look like? Is it going to be sad and gross, or is it going to be fun and loose and wild?
One of those fights.
You know what the best case scenario? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Ben Askren versus Robbie Lawler. I think that's the best case scenario for this. With the swings of momentum.
Fine. Yeah. I will tell you personally, quietly confident it will be fun. Which isn't to say I know who will win. I really fucking
no idea.
Dude, who the fuck knows?
No idea.
Nick Diaz could show up looking like prime Lance Armstrong in terms of cardio, and then completely fucking demolish Robbie. You'd be like, yes, of course that happened. Or conversely, he could show up looking like shit, and you'd be like, well, right.
And Lawler's lost 4 in a row
for 7 years, and Lawler's he could go.
He also could be uninterested in exchanging strikes. Like once he gets in there and just start doing Nick
Diaz
and start doing Nick things.
He will one way or the other. He will fall on the sword one way or the other.
See, that's what I think. I believe that they have nothing really to gain by just trying to win the fight, like just going out there and being tactical. I feel like we're going to see them go at each other because of that part in their career, and they kind of, I feel like that's the contract.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's their kind of personal contract.
I think,
Let's go out
Robbie
there and
will start off a little bit more measured.
Yeah, he might.
And doing the Sanford MMA thing, and then Nick's going to touch him, and then it will probably devolve.
But
to
isn't that what
Hilarious.
we expect deep inside? Like if Slaughter is going to make a reunion, Slaughter was the last metal band before grunge came in, right? And they had some sick hits.
What was the
Little window.
What was the
Only
singer?
he would like
Mark
discount.
Slaughter.
But if Slaughter's going to come back right now and play down the street at Jersey City at some like hole in the wall hall,
Yeah, I'm not
we're
going.
like,
Right
I don't
over.
want to hear your new shit. Yo, play those hits that we know.
No, well,
Are we
that's-
telling Robbie
that is
Lawler and
true,
Nick Diaz
man.
on Saturday that like I know it's 17 years later, but bro, play them hits?
Well, hold on a
okay?
second. Let's examine for just a second, right, Chuck? Why did the first one work? Because one, Nick Diaz talked that shit.
Yeah.
Right, number one. Number two, he landed on Lawler early in a fight he was not expected to
Right.
competitively hang. So it was a huge element of surprise. Obviously, Lawler gave it back to him a little bit, but in the end, it was because Nick, I know.
Yo,
it's-
rev that engine,
Dude,
bitch.
if you're in Jersey City,
All right.
what else do you have to do? You get COVID and you fucking you
Yeah.
drag race.
Yeah.
You drink.
And a drink. So the point what I'm trying to make is this exceeded so many expectations about what things were. Now this fight is the exact opposite. No
Yeah.
one knows what
Nobody
to
does.
think. Versus the first time it was striker versus
It's a perfect
grappler.
hinge fight for that reason, right? Like I always feel like that third spot, the one right in the middle of the pay-per-view, is always kind of the thing that pushes you over.
Right.
This is the thing that kind of sells it in the end.
Jorge Masvidal versus Ben
Right,
Askren,
exactly,
right?
100%.
Do you remember back in the day when you would go to like Sam Goody or wherever you bought your albums? Yeah, it was. Remember?
Yo, strawberries, bitch.
Strawberries,
all right?
whatever. Do you remember? It was always the 3-song rule. If the album had 3
Yes.
songs,
Yeah.
you bought it. This one has
That's
the
true.
3-song rule, and this, of course, again, it's the feature fight. It's not the.
All right, well, let's transition here and say that Lawler Diaz is as gas station food nostalgia
Oh, here we go.
for 3 guys on a roof drinking some alcohol. But what about for the hardcore fan with that main event, that featherweight title bout, after so much waiting and Ultimate Fighter coaching and injuries, Brian Ortega against Alexander Volkanovski, the CKB, GHP, 3 Cosbys, I don't know where we're going with this. The CKB mathematician,
that joke ahead of time.
footwork wizard
Practicing in the mirror.
against T-City, who's going to get up in that ass, and he's
You love
also
that cat.
he's
You do
also a
love
really
him,
good
too,
fighter in
Brian.
the cage
You
too.
love
Brian
You know?
will send me pictures of Brian Ortega on
Showing some
Instagram,
neck.
and he'd be
Showing
like,
neck.
he'd be like hashtag wood smash. I'd be like, really?
man.
Were you with
Yeah,
that
well, I
man?
don't know if I go. We do make great cinema together on camera and interviews. But forgetting about if he smashed Halle Berry or not, bros, I'm gonna tell you this right now. This ain't about betting odds. This ain't about just dissected, brosected, good segment. I'm sure.
This is the good stuff.
This is
This is why
about
you get the
feelings,
drinks in 'em,
bro.
yes.
Here's what I'm saying about feelings.
He's gonna wake up tomorrow being like, I hate my life.
Yo, here's what I'm gonna say about your wizard at CKB.
Okay.
Joe Ortega's gonna get up in that ass, bro. Okay.
I think you're a little confused.
Okay.
All right, so Chuck,
Yes.
we've acknowledged that the Diaz one is incomprehensibly no way to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Biggest fight on the
But
card.
somehow
in terms-
speaks to the fight game and speaks to the fans.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, but we transitioned to, as he's done, to the featherweight main event. Your level of excitement is what?
It's not the greatest, but I feel like that's why.
Fucking casual.
Yo, fuck you,
Yeah,
bro.
fuck
I mean,
Chuck
ser-
Mindenhall.
Here's
yo,
the thing.
I
Here's the
mean,
thing.
Fuck off the roof.
Here's the thing. You guys are out. That's it. Here's the thing. I mean,
He tends to masturbate between takes. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I think the UFC shares my opinion. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, they've got another title fight on this, and then they put the Nick Diaz fight. I
bro,
feel like,
this is
you know,
one of the 4 or 5 best fights you can make on paper in terms of like skill
See,
versus skill, pound for pound versus
this is-
pound for pound, right?
So for this guy particularly, somebody who's paying attention to footwork and every single thing that's going on, like every little counter and
Yeah.
every, I could see how this would be a very good fight, and I agree with that on that side of things. If you're just talking about, generally how it's being perceived or how it could be marketed and things like that, it's not the greatest. But I'm like at the
Yo.
same time, I'm excited to see it.
I'm gonna
you know?
say
I'm
it's in-
excited to see it, but it's like I think it's perfectly
All right, look,
placed with other
I'm gonna
fights.
push him off the roof and get in here and say, look, I think it's gonna be worth the wait without question. 2 pound for pound guys. I just want to ask you this question.
Okay.
Because Brian Ortega had such extremes in his last 2 fights of styles, obviously he's got to find a balance in the middle. When you say, yo, BC, you getting all hard and high, like trying to act like
I've never called you
Ortega
hard.
is Big Tuna or something in Bellator, like that's your new guy,
Big
yo.
Tuna's the man.
What do you see in Ortega's game lacking to be able to, even though the odds are close and obviously everyone knows anything can happen, what is Ortega missing to solve that mathematician there from down under?
It will really just be a question of to what extent he can read the patterns of a guy like Volkanovski is where it all comes down to.
Because you're like, this ain't zombie, bro.
Volkanovski comes out and he is starting with his hands up here, and then this one flies, and then he is changing angles, he is changing stances, and the whole time you're looking at him trying to get an understanding of what's about to happen, and you freeze over and over again for a series of moments.
Meanwhile, he's calibrating you, and he's figuring out your rhythm.
Right, and then you begin to react to him, and then he goes, and now the whole pattern has changed again. I really don't think folks understand, because I get it. The Holloway fights were close, I get it, and people love Max Holloway, and you can make a credible case that he won either, I don't think both, but you can make a case that he won one of them.
The second one,
The second one, fine. But at the same time, people are losing sight of the fact that, dude, he didn't just do that to Max. Do you know who he iced before the Max fights? Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo could not figure out shit.
Okay, but real talk.
Him. Dude, Jose Aldo is a fucking boss.
Real talk between men. Did Jose Aldo say, fuck this, I'm going to the scorecards? Real talk.
Probably, dude, but also because Volkanovski is doing this shit.
I'm giving your boy Al the credit, but I want to bring you in to split the difference here.
Before you go. Dude, this is who he is. Have you heard about the Navajo talkers from World War II? This is a true story. They made a movie about this. Ooh. The Japanese could not figure out, they were trying to intercept all signals, right? So the Americans were realizing their code was being broken by the Japanese. They actually got the Navajo to be the people who would send messages or call for fire missions to each other. And the Japanese could not break the old Navajo language. They could never pick up on it. So as a consequence, they had this encoded way of talking they could never pick up on. Dude, Volkanovski is the fucking Navajo talker. Analogy. These people look at him and they think they know what's happening here. They cannot figure out the code in time to meaningfully score offense.
Okay.
When was the last time?
Okay, I'll tell you the last time somebody figured it out.
The last time that anyone landed clean on Volkanovski. Chad Mendes
I don't need to watch the second Holloway fight 49 times, and neither do you, to know that Max figured out the Da Vinci Code, which is what Luke Brown is saying right here, right?
Luke Brown.
Yo, if he's Tom Hanks, he's the Philadelphia version, right?
I have AIDS.
Well, here's the thing.
Also, I'm a lawyer.
Even though he eked out those victories, or you could make the case that he didn't win one, but even though he got by or escaped Max Holloway twice, how well have they aged, given what Holloway is doing afterward? Like, that's really the thing, right?
Okay,
I feel like Volkanovski doesn't get enough credit. I know you've broke down his film and stuff like that, but I'm like, I just feel like
I agree.
The audience has not really caught on to his genius yet.
I'm gonna get labeled.
I wouldn't even mind if people picked Ortega. What drives me nuts is they think Ortega is a pretender. Dude, let me state very unequivocally, he is the genuine article times a billion.
Okay, nobody thinks he's a pretender. But there are people, and Brian Ortega's quotes ahead of this fight mirror that look at it as, okay, you figured out how to change the footwork on the dance moves to win that fight with mirrors, but are you the real if you have no intention or plan on finishing the guy? I know what you're going to say. Dude, he finished Pedro Munoz. He'll finish you if you walk into something. But what Brian Ortega's trying to say is, I can do it all. So the knee-jerk response from the critics will be like, this ain't Korean Zombie. Nice victory. Nice victory.
Actually, when you really get into it, it's like,
what happens though, Chuck?
Yeah, you're being a fucking hater, Chuck.
I mean,
yo, Chuck.
Well, as I get into the the X's and O's of this thing, like I also think he is such an underrated counter striker. You know what I mean? Volkanovski.
Yeah.
So like, if the pressure starts to get turned up, which I know Ortega likes to do, you can just start to imagine how that'll look.
Yo, Chuck.
You know what I mean?
Yo, episode 6, Anakin. Let me bring it to you right now, okay? By the way, episode 3, Anakin was a bitch, and you know that, Luke, okay? Let me ask you this, though. Does Ortega have the IQ? Because he raised his IQ in our eyes against Korean Zombie by tenfold.
No, that's a fair one. He did a great job.
Does he have the IQ to go even higher, to use his length and punching power to give this wizard pause?
I mean, he looked so much better last time out. I gotta think I gotta think something mentally clicked after that big loss, man. I think that he's dialed in better. I don't know. He was so good in that Cub Swanson fight, especially. He finishes him twice, essentially. I mean, he's looked so good. The Frankie Edgar fight, but I'm like, when you think about it, I'm like, he looks so good coming off a loss. I was really worried about how he'd look coming off of that kind of loss.
So let's figure this out for a second. All of us agree, right, that if Ortega tries to take it to the ground, no dice. Right, Volkanovski's takedown defense is fucking lights out.
It is, but...
Okay, hold on. He can rock him and take him down.
Okay, I want to ask you, though, what if Ortega goes for the takedown and pulls guard? What's going to happen?
Now, that's different. It's a whole different scenario. I think a guy like Volkanovski probably has good submission defense, but what I'm trying to point out is probably the majority of the fight's going to be on the feet, all right? Here's what I'm banking on. How did Ortega get the Korean Zombie. It wasn't just a bop-bop.
Yeah.
It was a bop-bop, quack, and he came around the back.
Yes.
True.
It's the trickery.
It's the Lomachenko shit.
Dude, Ortega cannot beat Volkanovski straight up boxing.
No.
It's not going to work. But with the trickery element, with the risk-taking
Love
element,
it.
that's where the whole ball game changes for me.
Since you saw it 49 times, what did Max do in the second
Oh,
fight?
yeah, you did. Is that the
Okay,
fight you watched?
what did Max
That's how many
do?
times I'm going to...
Let me ask you, for real, straight up, in layman's terms, what did Max do in the second fight that Ortega may be able to mirror?
So two things. In the first fight, Max had a wide stance, and in a wide stance, it is good because you can lower your level. Obviously, you can intercept things in certain degrees, but you're not as mobile. Or actually, you're more mobile, but you don't have quite the same delivery. So what he did was he actually narrowed his stance, and now he's up tall. He's a bigger target,
Yes.
but he could intercept things much more easily. He wasn't worried about the takedown because I think in the first time
Yeah.
he was worried about the takedown. So let me get a more stability but less mobility. So this time he narrowed his stance. He did the tie things. He was very up tall and he could drive the knees in and
Yeah.
everything else he wanted to. He didn't really care about anything other than intercepting the strikes. I think the other part was just a little bit more patient, a little bit more willing to wait. So that's the part that Ortega can do.
And he has
for
length,
sure.
like Max.
Yes, exactly. He's got the length and he's got great patience. This is what the fight hinges on. To what extent can Ortega pick up on the patterns and then find a way to counteract it?
I hope we talked
That's
you
it.
into the idea that
That's
this is
it.
a great fight, and I want to ask you this.
You guys have turned me off
Can
again.
the champion
I'm just
be...
kidding, come on.
Yeah, we're
Can-
talking over him,
yo,
by the way.
Yo,
We're like, why the fuck is Chuck
I'll
here?
walk you
I'm
down here
just
to
gonna
ask
go
you
take a
this
pee break,
question, okay?
fellas.
Yo, come with me for a second, all right? Come on down. Yo, I gotta have this in Jersey City, the skyline,
Yeah.
which doesn't really give you that Manhattan
This is, very
confidence
date rapey,
feel.
but all right,
I
what
want
is
to.
that?
It's a little date rapey, GHP style. But I want to ask you this though: can the champion Volkanovski be tapped out by Ortega? Is that possible, bro? You deal with that as they come in on you, okay?
All right, let's play the Jeopardy clock for me, will you? No, come on. Of course he can. Of course he can.
Oh,
I really do
shit.
believe he
Oh
can.
shit.
Come on.
Okay, Luke.
All right,
Okay, Luke.
There's a lot of people that I've talked to, man. I don't know about you guys, that really think that Ortega's going to do this. I
Yo,
mean,
one of those people is standing
Is
right
that
here.
mine?
Yeah.
That's mine.
Yo, people think.
That's mine. That's mine.
Here we go.
Yo, people think I wear this shirt because I'm a big Gina Carano fan, and they're right, bro. Okay, you know what I'm saying? You know what
So
I'm
end of
saying?
interview.
Yo, as a fighter, that's what, and as an Instagrammer, that's what I'm talking about, right?
All right, so Chuck, likeliest way. I guess I'm asking for a prediction, right?
Okay.
Okay, how about this?
All right. Let's hear
How about the
this.
Max Holloway angle in this whole thing?
All right.
UFC is
Yeah.
playing with house money.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Because
Are we just kicking Yair to the curb as he's at us? Or
Well, I mean, let's just get down to brass tacks. If Ortega wins,
Yes.
dude, you have a rematch. If Ortega loses and Volkanovski wins, you have a motherfucking rubber match.
Right.
Yes.
Dude, and maybe, could you, no, I think Aldo's probably, certainly the most prominent 145er. Who's the most popular, not counting Conor McGregor, who's the most popular 145er
Max,
outside of McGregor?
bitch.
Probably
Yeah,
Max.
Max.
So, either way, the Max
I know, that-
shit is in play.
Well, wait, no. Here's why it's here's the reason that a Volkanovski Holloway trilogy would be a big deal. It's mainly because I think you point this out brilliantly. We're talking about a guy who adapts in fight in Volkanovski, a guy who makes adjustments in fight and starts to figure out timing. Actually, I think he needs to get hit sometimes to wake up in a fight. It's one
bit.
of those weird type of things.
Yeah.
But then you're also talking about a guy who does the exact same thing and it starts to figure out his timing and it looks sublime. Like when you talk about a trilogy fight, when both guys know their tendencies that well,
Yeah.
that's the one you root for.
That's the one. Because the problem was Ortega was a different fighter back then. But dude, Max beat him bad. Like that,
Yo,
they had to. That was a mercy call.
Can you
at the
settle
end.
That
a
is
quick
true.
man debate between men?
Okay.
Yo, if Zabit was healthy, he'd be cleaning up on all these
here we go.
hoes,
bro.
bro.
Nah,
Okay,
bro.
Through two
Nah.
rounds, maybe?
Yo,
Nah.
he in the Smash Factory. He's the art. Like me, I'm the artist of this group.
You're
in
not
this
an
show.
artist whatsoever.
Yo, Zabit is the artist of the Smash Factory.
Does that
Admit
mean
it.
you also have debilitating illnesses?
Wow, wow.
No, here's the thing, dude. I think very highly.
Yo, I asked him that question, bro.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna
All
answer
right?
it. He can
answer. You can answer.
I've been drinking. I'm sorry.
By all means,
officer, don't cut
by
me.
all means, finish.
Okay, do you agree then that Zabit is clearly championship material, but the idea that he is the foregone conclusion seems a bit overstated?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's overstated. I do think he can, for sure.
He
I think he can.
He's in that
He's
discussion.
got some
Yo, we
question
got to
marks.
remove
Come
him
on.
right now. We got to
We've
remove
got
him
some
right now.
question marks.
I asked Brian Ortega an interesting question. Then maybe we can close on this fight with this topic, is where I said, look, like, okay, this title fight, your second title fight against Volkanovski, kind of the defining fight of your career. But I know the competitor inside of you. Is it the eventual Holloway rematch that's really the defining fight of your career?
Okay.
He's like, yeah. I mean, it is.
Wow.
You know, he went a long way to get there,
Well,
but he
let's put
said
it this
yes.
way. Before
but do you
that
think he's
happened-
overlooking The real not danger because he's maybe not going to knock you out.
Is this a Wheel of Death question?
The real talent that Volkanovski brings, that this man believes in
seems to
his core, is Ortega overlooking what makes Volkanovski great.
I would say that's true, because the thing is, like, when you look at their lead up, I don't know if you guys watch stuff. I didn't. I watched a little bit of it. I've seen some highlights, but I've seen their like bad blood, right? But I'm saying it's mostly just this annoyance, and I think it's annoyance with their own selves for not being able to talk the smack like other previous. It's like it's more of a self-loathing, but at the same time, it's not. I mean, to me, it's not really that bad, but
he's texting his wife.
Uh-oh, who are you texting?
Yo, I gotta tell him, I'm like, yo, recording a show right now.
Yo, he's texting his motherfucking boss. That's what he's doing.
But I do think that there's probably just somehow inherently a thing about Volkanovski at this point in time that is still overlookable. And I don't know what it is, but I think it's there.
Dude, I think there's a lot of people inside MMA, including people who know more than me, certainly, but I think there's a lot of people who, it's not that you can't make a credible case for Max. Of course you can. But it is that in making the credible case for Max, there's a certain dismissiveness that just does not matter. Dude, why? Who has... Poirier made Max struggle because Max went up a weight class, and Poirier has fucking stupid power, okay? And he's a very good boxer, all right? Conor got him early or whatever. When you think about like why Max like lost those fights, you can say that they were close, fine. But why were they even close? Dude, because Volkanovski had him confused for long parts of it. That's not a fucking accident.
Can I ask you a personal question?
And I love Max Holloway.
Who would you favor in a rematch between Ortega and Holloway right now? Let me ask you a personal
question.
Holloway.
After that Cater fight, Holloway.
So from your standpoint, this is a like semi-final round to get to the Holloway-Ortega trilogy to find out who is the real best 145er, because after 49 times you do understand that Holloway had a chance of saying,
how many times are you going to go back to the well about the 49?
I mean, at some point, like, do you like? No one believes that he actually watched it 49 times. So why say that?
You
right?
don't,
like,
why say that? Have to. You don't have to. I kept notes. But the point is this: even you can agree with this. Dude, Ortega is dumb talented. He's crazy talented.
But you think he's dumb, Luke Rockhold style, because you
know
of the you know of the poontang he pulls in. So you're like, yo,
he's fighting them off like zombies and fucking Walking Dead. I'm sure. But what I'm trying to say is, I fucking lost my train of thought because you fucking cut me off again.
I interrupted him for the first time ever on the show the other day. You know what I'm saying? First time ever I interrupted him. And he was so pissed, Joe. He was so pissed. I
forgot what I was going to say about Ortega.
Want to restart?
Yo, I was basically going to ask you straight up, Luke, is Ortega the semifinal round in this larger 145 tournament?
I'll just say this. He got beat real bad by Max, and then some things were his fault, some things were not his fault. He's been back one time. And in that one time against Korean Zombie, did he look awesome? Without a shadow of a doubt.
Made a leap, bro. Made a leap.
Huge level up. Huge level up. Nevertheless, it's one fight. The sample size confidence. Okay. Can I say that he can't win? That there's no chance? Of course, I have no fucking idea. But I'm saying, dude, Max has been bout it, staying pretty active
like
in longer
Chewbacca,
fights. Like motherfucking Chewbacca.
Yes.
And dude, Volkanovski, there's a weird thing where it's like, because Volkanovski's game is a little bit boring, I'm going to discount it. Dude, you do that at your peril.
Yo, I gotta, before I hit the head, I might break the seal the first. Yo, do you think Ortega smashed...
You're not even housebroken.
Yo, do you think Ortega smashed Halle Berry? Like, straight up men versus men.
I'm not asking you that. Okay? Dude, he will do this. He will be like, hey, can I imperil your career with totally bullshit questions? All right.
I'm not going to answer it, but you're probably... I think so.
BC's going to go to the men's room. While he's gone, let's forget about UFC 266 for a second.
Okay.
How has life been for you during the pandemic?
It's been okay, actually. I was able to kind of step back just a little bit from MMA.
Yeah.
The coverage, the inundation of the schedule and everything
else. A little burned out?
A little bit. I would say that that's actually true. And, in that way, it's a great silver lining because, let's face it, the Athletic sold us a bill of goods and we went there and they kind of shut down the combat sports.
So my understanding of that is they basically wanted to do a big push and then they realized they couldn't quite monetize an audience of combat sports people under their model, and then they said go with something else. Yeah,
pretty much. Although there was no warning. In fact, everything coming out of their mouths up until the moment they did it, which was the 1 year at the 1 year moment when everybody renewed automatically. By the way, on the subscriptions, there was no warning that it was coming. In fact, everything we were told was that everything was fine and we were moving in the right direction. It's a blessing in disguise.
Okay, but you're currently doing what? You have the man in the, what was the?
No. So we were doing the Man in the Myth with Sean El Shadi, but Sean then went back to Vox Media. So I've got themyth.com,
That's
which is
it.
a site I just throw some thoughts down on, and
Throw some thoughts, the best ones that are out there.
so I do that, and then I'm working with The Ringer now. We're doing a podcast with our boy Ariel Helwani.
Yep.
And
what's the name of it, by the way?
Pete Carroll. So it's called the Ringer MMA Show.
I like Pete. I like Pete being
He's
there.
good.
He's a fun guy.
He is very good. He makes it like he's chemistry no matter what, right? Like he's always going to be chemistry. So
and by the way, hold on. In fairness to him, smart and experienced.
Yeah.
And
so we're doing all the major pay-per-views.
And Ariel too. Everyone relax.
Guys made up.
I know. It's fine. Ariel's fucking talented. Everyone chill. Okay. But yes, you're doing that.
Yeah, and we do this thing called the Spotify Green Room,
Yes.
which is actually like an exclusive green room after big fights, things like that, and then it becomes a podcast later. So yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Good.
So, but I feel rejuvenated, man. I mean, I got to be honest, and it's fun to come back and do this show again. And
the pandemic resorted things a little bit.
Yeah,
All right, so
yeah.
now BC, how do you feel?
Yo, how nice is it that Luke and Ariel buried that Dawson's Creek bullshit and we're back on the same team? You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. So loaded.
Dude, I could blow you up right now like Ray Lewis blew up many a quarterback.
Oh, shit. Yo, that means he was like, yo, I'll kill you.
I could
right?
blow you up right
He's
now.
He's like, yo, meet me in Atlanta on Olympic Square.
Dude,
I'll kill you.
There
bro.
are certain things that BC does where he'll dare you to like meet his
does
energy.
like the Chael Sonnen
But
thing.
here's the thing: if you do, it would like ruin his career. So you can't actually do
He's
it.
the Chael Sonnen. He lights a bomb, puts it in your hand, and he runs away.
Yeah, dude, that's BC shit.
Yo, I'm like
All right,
Benny
so
Hill, except for the lack of nude women, right?
And hopefully rape as well.
Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty bad, yeah. No more Cosby jokes. Let's keep going.
I was like, now I have to go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom? Is it over here?
It is. So Chuck,
I'm the last man. I'm the last man with the
Chuck,
liver.
You have to pee on yourself.
Yo, Chuck, I want to ask you a bit about that UFC 266 undercard,
Elixir.
prelims, a little bit deep, like not
All right.
so much. I don't want to hear you talk about Dan Hooker's visa, but is there a fighter on this card that you're looking to like maybe have a moment and say, yo, we here. We
On
up
the
in this.
prelims?
Prelims.
You're not even gonna go.
early.
You're not even gonna go to the
You can go main
heavyweight
card.
fight.
Yo,
or
go Curtis Blades if you feel it, bro. Okay?
Let me think. Probably Jalen Turner. I like that guy. I think he's kind of turned a corner.
The tarantula.
Yeah, the tarantula. I like him. I think he's got a bright
Who's
future.
he fighting though, bro?
He's fighting the kid from Serbia, right? Like the Serbian. What's his name? It's
Drazen Petrovic.
no. No, he's the kid he's fighting though is pretty good too.
Okay, no, Jalen Turner's turned the corner. He's showing me some pop. He's showing me some
Yeah.
energy, some love.
you
Does Curtis Blades re-enter the heavyweight title picture against Jairzinho Rozenstruik? Because it's pretty good damn matchmaking, right?
Curtis Blades.
Yeah. What did I say?
Oh no, I'm trying to put this together. Like he got knocked out in his last fight with Derek Lewis. And I
Yes.
feel like his style doesn't lend itself to something like a title.
Yo, his style
conversation.
dominates the sub-elite.
That's what I
Well,
mean.
what
And
can he
also
do?
it can dominate an exciting knockout artist, right? Like Rozenstruik. I think that's one of those situations. And if he's smart, that's probably the tactic he's going to do because you don't want to lose 2 in a row. After your only losses were really to Ngannou, right? Like all the way up until the Lewis fight. You probably don't want to get knocked out a second time in a row because I think he might actually lose that shine forever. Like I don't know if he'd ever get back into contendership. I think that fight has the potential of being very boring because if Curtis Blades has his way,
if it's wrestling,
if he's going to get his way, and I think he's going to pick his shots, because he got knocked out with an uppercut in the last. I think he's going to pick his shots and he's going to make it as ugly as he can. He's going to try to take him down as soon as he can.
Yo, I got to ask you about the one pay-per-view main card fight that no one's talking about.
Uh-oh.
And it is former strawweight champion Jessica Andrade coming back at flyweight against Cynthia Calvillo, and it's an important title picture fight. But be honest with me, and this directly correlates to the co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko against Lauren Murphy.
All right.
Yo, Valentina against Jessica Andrade was supposed to be
the
first time at 125 we'll see Valentina have to
You follow boxing.
show us
all the
if you're a
time,
Russian
right?
spy. Like, show us how good you are. Bro, she wrestled the shit out of Andrade, crucifix elbows, and made it look like she was fighting Jessica I, to be really honest. No disrespect, but to be really honest. How does Andrade, does Andrade bounce back from that at all?
Yes, he's here. Yes, I know he pees sitting down.
Yeah, wow.
It'll be okay.
Wow.
I'll tell him. Your wife says hi.
Because wow. Yo, I'm about to believe here that Andrade is going to get revenge. She's about to serve Calvillo, okay?
So, you're probably right, but I do think that this is almost set up for Calvillo to fail or succeed. Like if she gets through this,
Like,
I think
she's either going to win or lose.
No, but I
One
mean,
of
like
those
it's
things.
set up for her. If she's able to get through this, it's just like a turnstile fight, right? Like if she's able to get through Andrade has had her shot. We have fresh blood then, presuming that Valentina Shevchenko takes care of her business, right? I think that, because if you remember, she's 34 years old now, but for a while, she had kind of a big buzz around her when she was with Team Alpha Male.
Yo, Luke's up on her OnlyFans, bro. Yo, what I'm trying to say is the winner of Andrade Calvillo is going to have a say in that flyweight title picture, but no one cares about that bullshit. Yo, I gotta ask you this. Is Shevchenko gonna do what she told me on Morning Combat when she's like, my job is to destroy this bitch, Lauren Murphy?
Really
I don't think she said this bitch. And first of all, put some fucking respect on Lauren
5
Murphy's
in a
name.
row from Lauren Murphy. So with
Lauren
that,
Murphy is fucking
with that
amazing.
said, and by the
Dude,
way,
you do need to-
late
come on, have some
30s, the
respect.
Alaskan, she turned that
38
shit
years
around.
old. Have some respect, but she,
I got
she is a
plenty.
bug going up against a
So I gotta ask
high-moving
you this.
vehicle's windshield. You know what I mean? That's what she's going up
Will
against.
this be the fight?
We have reached the point he's drank too much.
Will this be the fight
He's a
where,
close stalker.
where Valentina gets legit pound for pound votes, where people are like, I don't care that
That's
you
a good
lost twice
question.
to Amanda. You the best in the world, biatch.
Dude, can you stop calling female fighters bitches?
Hold on,
please?
try again. Where people are basically going to say, I don't care about the 2 losses to Nunez. You the best in the world, Bullet.
Maybe. But I think that here's the thing she can do, because I mean I don't know, this is maybe
Talk about Lauren Murphy.
I'm talking about, well, here's the thing that Valentina can do. She can be the first to finish Lauren Murphy, right? Like Lauren Murphy has never been finished, and
She's tough as shit.
she's
Yeah, she's
fought
tough.
some monsters in there. So I think that would speak to a certain public, right?
Dude,
like I think that
I'm
would boost her.
I'm like super pumped about the co-main because
What?
Well, I'll tell you why. Candidly, look, when you examine the fight, as BC has had way too much to drink. In all seriousness, do you agree or disagree?
Okay.
Someone like Valentina Shevchenko, dude, you're not going to catch her slipping.
I don't
In other
think
words,
so.
like she made a point. If it was with BC or somebody else, she's like, these are the women who I'm fighting. They've been training like what and fighting as well, 6-8 years. She goes, they've been doing this for almost 30. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a level of
shows.
commitment that they precisely that they just cannot possibly match. And so, should Shevchenko be the favorite? Without a shadow of a doubt. But dude, Lauren Murphy is one of these fighters. BC, we're talking about factory town
that's the
candidates.
analyst in you talking. I want the fan in you
I'm
talking.
telling you,
up
bro.
in this
Dude, no, I'm
piece.
being fair. Like, don't you love stories? And I don't know if she's going
What's
to
her
get
path? Do you think, what is her path?
the path has been never the promoter's favorite. Not
Okay,
one day, and she forced her hand by driving up
By
the
winning.
hard part of the
By
division
winning.
and fucking winning. Dude, if you're a fight fan, if you're a real fight fan, you cannot take shit
Okay,
from her.
Yeah.
storyline wise, beautiful. Feel with it. She could play on Factory Town MMA, probably, right?
She's captain of the squad, bro.
But, bro, here's the thing. Many have tried against Valentina where it's like, you know what? It's just like any other fight. I'm going to do my thing. Yo, your thing's not going to work against Bullet. So if you guys were hired as consultants in Murphy's corner, they're like, yo, we know you know this shit, brother.
Yeah.
What can we do differently to upset the
Bring
robot?
a
to
club.
to
Dude,
miscalculate?
bring a club.
Dude, I disagree. Again, picking against Shevchenko is probably not good business.
But you're not gonna outpoint her, bro.
Dude,
You gotta do something
I
different.
think Lauren Murphy needs to do exactly the kind of thing she's done to get herself to this position,
no.
and recommending any kind of wild strategy outside
Yo,
of that.
You know what that
Whatever,
analysis
what do you
is
think it is,
akin
though?
to? That analysis is akin to like when you're in like
We
a
should ask what Chuck thinks
when
from
you're in a
time to time.
department store and they play like a metal radio song, but they play it in like elevator music style. It's like, yo, that's milquetoast. That's
not
white
milquetoast,
belt
though.
shit.
It's not.
That's white
It's
belt
not.
shit. Yo, give me the real.
Yeah, let's hear.
I don't know how she wins. That's why I'm asking you what the path of victory would be. But
I don't know how she wins either, but there's lots of times people do that.
Luke's
if
like,
you
yo,
stand at range, that seems like a very bad idea against Valentina.
She's to be had on the ground, possibly. I think Lauren Murphy has good top pressure. She has good top passing. That seems like a doable thing, provided you can get there. But, dude, listen, more than all of us, Lauren Murphy knows what she's up against.
Yeah.
She's up against a fucking generational talent.
Is she better, though, than a plus 880 underdog? Because that's where they have her right now.
Here's what I want to know. What was Jessica I? Because she's
had
definitely
to have
levels
been-
beyond that.
She had to have been in that range.
Yo, by the way, when
So
they
was in that
that to me,
range.
that equivalence is
Yeah.
not fair.
when they
Okay.
announced Montano defending the title against Shevchenko originally, wasn't
Yeah.
it like the biggest
They
odds ever?
spared her a beat.
Okay, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Jessica I was like, I'm just going to come after you. She got head kicked, okay? Carmouche was like, I'm just going to stay on the outside and like hope I get a decision. She
In
got a wide
Uruguay.
decision loss.
Yeah.
Across
God
the
damn,
board,
motherfucking bucks.
before Andrade could even think
That's a
about
good
what's
point.
happening, she's on her back and she's getting crucifixed.
However,
so if
Maya
you're
was able to
Murphy-
have some success with her on the ground.
So this is a good point. Maya had a specific
That's right.
skill set within her overall base that she could match the well-rounded Shevchenko. What does Lauren Murphy have? She's a well-rounded fighter, but what specific lane? Because if you come at
got that
Shevchenko
dog
as
in
a
her.
well-rounded
That's
fighter,
what it
she's going to
is.
out-well-round you,
So
bro.
I think Lauren Murphy again, dude. Shevchenko is a beast, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that Lauren Murphy is stronger than people realized. I think in the clinch, if she's the one initiating contact and she keeps the exchanges short-lived and then goes for takedowns, I think that's a real possibility. And then
A real
and then
possibility
playing
of
on
what,
top.
though? Give me, like,
So then
serious.
getting on top and then winning, either controlling her enough to land significant ground and pound, or controlling her on top. Now, I think the controlling her on top part is probably very unrealistic, but enough to force contact, get on top, bop,
Is there-
bop, bop,
Yo,
and, then
I
and then
gotta
separate.
ask Chuck a serious question.
Yeah.
Outside of Amanda Nunes,
Okay.
who
Nunes, I think,
has
right?
ever had a modicum of success against Valentina in the UFC?
Jennifer
Yeah,
Maya.
that was probably the closest.
Okay, who?
Jennifer Maya.
Who had
That
a
was it.
specific skill set that I don't think Lauren has.
Lauren
has
Murphy
in
is
any
good on the
category.
ground, dude. Yes, she is. She is good on the ground.
She's not as good as Maya was in that to sort of have some.
We'll see. You might be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. You might
So
be right.
what I'm saying
Is
is,
it-
don't
does
you
this-
alter the game plan,
Yeah.
Chuck? Don't you say, you know what, this is my one moment. If
I
I'm
think
gonna
at 30,
upset the
she's
apple
38,
cart-
right? Like
Yeah.
she's 38. She's won 5 in a row. A couple
Yeah,
of them
but
were
she's
split
one of these-
decisions, very narrow. I think she's in a position, and she probably has to understand that I will never be here again. So I would think that she's going to try some stuff
What would
that
Holly
maybe she
Holm
would
do
have.
against Rousey? What would Holly Holm do? She'd finish that fight. No.
Dude, he'll just say random
I'm
words.
not fucking around here. Can Lauren Murphy finish this fight? I'm not fucking around. Is there a chance that Lauren Murphy can finish this fight?
Highly unlikely.
Yeah, I
Highly
don't-
unlikely. And I think
I don't
even
see
she
it.
knows that, dude. Dude, have you ever you interviewed her? Did you not come across after the interview like with her that she's quite smart?
Oh, and she's not intimidated. She's like,
Not
I'm
at
sick.
all.
I don't know why you guys all think I'm some accidental title challenger.
Right.
I don't know why you guys all think I'm some giant underdog. I
Right.
respect
It really
that.
speaks more to Valentina, right? Like it's just the fact that she's above everybody else.
fucking
She
brick
has
wall.
been.
Hey, Luke, I'm going to tell you something that I don't know if you're ready, if you're prepared to handle.
We're not getting married.
Valentina is the second
me just grab my
greatest
beer.
fighter in the history of women's
We're
MMA.
getting married.
In the history of women's MMA, Valentina right now is the second greatest fighter in the history
Who's
of the
number one?
sport. Amanda Nunes.
So she's bigger than Cyborg?
She's better all time. Yeah, she's
Let's
not,
say
she's not as decorated.
if Valentina-
She's no, hold on, Chuck, split this difference. She's not
Well,
as
wait.
decorated as Cyborg, but is she better?
You talking about Amanda?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Valentina,
Valentina.
bitch.
Valentina?
Hey, stop calling people bitches. Jesus.
That's all right. I've been called worse.
I'm gonna call your wife.
That's a tough one. It's I don't want to like discount
Dude,
Cyborg.
Cyborg's
I don't
run
want
is
to discount it
special.
because she did the same thing essentially.
Nah, dude, Cyborg's run
forever.
is special.
So you're like, okay, at worst she's the third. That's
Listen,
what you're like.
not
She's
named,
right
not
in there.
named Amanda
One-
Nunes. She has
2A
basically
and
fucked
2B.
everybody up. I get that, but dude, Cyborg has been putting in work for a fucking half a generation. Like, come on now.
All right, I gotta ask you a really difficult question.
All right.
Yo,
I like that.
If Dan Hooker's opponent is also unable to catch a visa and get in on this fight,
Mass rat hack
give
blast.
me a last-minute replacement.
Oh my God.
That for Dan Hooker that would make you fired up.
Oof. I
I
don't
think
know.
BC's
You got
been.
someone?
Has BC been drinking?
I think that's
Yo,
alcohol in his
BC
cup.
as a tipsy matchmaker
I don't
is
know.
probably the second
Yeah.
best matchmaker in the world, but
That's
behind
but
Sean
you know what,
Shelby.
man? That is a really weird situation because the guy is like celebrating the fact that he's going to be able to do it. Now you have his opponent who's like waiting on his. I mean, that's like I
And
can't
also,
recall
like,
anything like
correct me
this.
if I'm wrong, because I saw the Submission Radio interview. They were saying that Hack Parasts, and I'm sorry to say this, that his mother died recently, and that
Yes,
so the
I
Submission
did
Radio
see that.
guys were asking him like, how do you compare the situations? And Dan Hooker is one of the most amazing people.
Yeah.
Because Dan Hooker goes, dude, whatever my situation is, his is fucking incredibly worse. Like he
Yeah.
didn't even try to equivocate. Meanwhile, he's trying to
pretty
go
cool.
around half the planet to go weigh in. We'll see what happens with the Hack
Yo, can I
Parasts.
ask you a Dan Hooker question that
Yeah.
cuts to the core of who you
Okay.
are?
Okay.
Is he taking on too much damage that you'll believe the rest of his 30s he'll linger, but he won't be the same man?
I think this fight tells you something in that way, right? Like I think that you know after the last couple, I feel like that's kind of where he's at. You know, you
That's
wait
what
to
I
see
bring to
what
this
happens
podcast,
here.
real
That's
hard-hitting
true.
questions.
That's true.
bro,
You do.
right?
Plus the Holly Holm thing, whatever you were doing there. But yeah. That's
Can you imagine looking in the mirror and
Hey,
thinking
you guys
see
work
something
together all
totally
the time,
different?
man. I haven't been here in a year and
Yo,
a half.
how different is the energy between us now that you're like a hot knife through the butter?
I'm
that
like
is
Dana.
this?
I'm like Dana turning red between
Yeah,
you guys
yeah,
like
yeah.
this.
Yo, you're like prime Dave Schaller right now, okay?
I'm not like Jimmy Lennon Jr. just like standing there watching the action.
Well, Jimmy is not paid to bounce.
Yeah, yeah.
I know.
Jimmy is
But there was
not a
nobody
bouncer.
within anywhere around that fight. Like it was like they were standing there for like a full minute.
Listen, Jimmy has a job, and it doesn't include separating two donks.
All right.
Yo, by the way, how cool is Canelo to just fire back at that
I
shit?
loved
right?
it, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I loved it. And by the way, what a juxtaposition from you guys all dressed up, and I come in and now you're doing Girls Gone Wild.
Yo, the thing about
know.
MK is it's a brand that will whore itself out for the right setup. Yo, if you booze us
these
up,
guys are good.
so let me ask you this: who on Sunday morning, when you're hungover and you're like, "Honey, I
On a
need the
Sunday morning?
Advil," who's the MVP of UFC 266?
Ooh, I
Because
like
it's a
that.
good
That's a
ass
good one.
card, Luke. It's IFW. We're back, baby. Okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the card here. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yo, you know the
Well,
fan in you is like, I
stop
hope,
talking.
I hope Nick, bitch.
Stop
Yeah.
talking.
That would be the one, right? Like I think if he wins, and especially if he knocks him out again, or just it's just that kind of scenario. That's going to be that's going to be like the Nick Diaz thing is going to blow up.
Spoiler alert: Robbie's chin is questionable right now.
Yeah.
Well, relative to what it was, for
Yes.
sure. All right, so here's the card. Obviously,
All right.
Volkanovski, Ortega, we know. Shevchenko, Murphy, we know. Diaz, Lawler, we know. Dude, this one's getting slept on. It's big.
Yup.
Curtis Blades versus Jairzinho
You know what Chuck said?
Rosenstrike.
It's going to be boring as shit.
It could be.
He said that.
I said
when
if
you were in
Curtis
the
Blades
bathroom.
is smart, it will be.
Dude,
I said he's
Curtis
gonna-
Blades is going to drive some elbows down.
Yeah.
All right, I wanna talk
there's
to
a
you-
real
Remember what he did to
possibility.
Overeem?
That is
He did-
true.
Yo,
That
can
is
I
true.
tell you something? No one's talking about. It's gonna be a
You could see-
banger.
you could see his
Chris Dawkins
dome,
at
upper domes.
heavyweight is knocking lower tier fools out.
You guys are missing
yo,
the story.
do you-
All right,
okay,
all
okay. Well, yo, I know about that story.
Hold
but
on.
how about
Full
yo?
stalker.
Can Chris Dawkins take out Abdurakhimov and like take him to the next level?
Really,
bro?
this is the story we're talking about?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Here we go, here.
Hold on. So we have Andrade versus Covey. You all talked about it. Here we go. How about this one? The main event
See,
of the
no,
prelims.
that's the one. That's the one that could be.
Yeah.
Marlon Moraes taking on Merab
That's a good
Dvalishvili.
fight.
So let's set this
The
up.
reason is Marlon Moraes. I still believe in the Marlon Moraes that I know. I feel like people are not considering him. He's like a 2.5 to 1 underdog.
Okay,
in this
here's the
fight.
problem. Dvalishvili, is he the technician that Moraes is? No, but dude, he's got a motor that I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever
Yes.
That's a
seen.
great fight.
I haven't
man.
seen that since Bruce Jenner at the '76 Olympics,
Yeah,
right?
that was yeah.
Okay, I want to leave now. Dan Hooker versus Hakparast, Abdurakhimov versus Dawkins.
All right, can we stop for a second? Luke, no, serious
Also,
question.
hold on.
Because you
Before you
that
dismiss
shit.
it, Manon Fiorot, I'm mispronouncing
Luke.
the French girl, is a fucking beast.
Because you're all about, yo, Tom Aspinall's the next heavyweight, bitch. Chris Dawkins.
Bitch.
Yo, is Chris...
This is the bitch thing is like a tip.
I
It's like
have
a
literally lived through. Ready for this? I have lived through. Dude, Cyril Gane ain't shit. I have lived through that. I have lived through
Yo,
that.
Chris Dawkins can bang a bit. Can he get
Fortunately,
by?
in MMA,
Can he
everybody
get
etches
by
sketches after every week. They're like this. every
Shamil
week.
Abdurakhimov?
You're right. Same thing.
Luke, can he get by Abdurakhimov?
Yes, Abdurakhimov is good, but Dawkins is a little more aggressive, I feel like.
Okay.
He's just like enjoying
Yeah.
appetizers, man. He's just like, you know what I mean? That guy came in and
Yeah,
he's
and
like
also
just knocking people
Dawkins
out.
like kind of wants that smoke.
Okay,
He kind of wants that smoke.
I think he does.
He's one of those dudes who like used to be fat and is now getting thin. More importantly than that,
The drink is starting to
do
report.
you think Dvalishvili can finish Marlon Moraes? Yo?
Yes.
I think so. I think he can.
Yes.
Yeah. Yo, that might be a
But
sad
here's
day.
the thing.
That might be a
Yes, tell
sad
us,
day.
tell us, tell us.
I think that Marlon Moraes, if you're going to bet an underdog in this, that's my underdog. If I'm going to bet a dog,
Fair
that's
point.
the guy right
Fair
there.
point. That's a
Yo,
fair
if
point.
he's still got something under the hood, he better show it now.
I agree.
Why
He's
did he
gotten
fall
finished.
off? Why did he fall off?
I don't know, but I mean, it seems to this thing happens. I don't know. It's like, especially with the Brazilian champions. Now, I'm not making accusations, but this has happened before. He fought.
Renan Barao is where you're going with this.
Well, Renan Barao was definitely one of the guys who did this, but he's not quite to that level because he did have a win in there. But it started with the Henry Cejudo, and I don't know if that really had any bearing on it, but it's just two finish. He got knocked out his last couple of fights, and I think that when that happens, people see a spiral. And the Vegas odds makers see that spiral, and I think that that's where they're placing it. But man, if you watch Marlon Moraes and
Dude,
World
he-
Series of Fighting
he
all the
looks
way
the
up,
part, too.
and dude, he's just so good. I can't accept that he's there yet. He's 33 years old. I think that he's
30.
He's 33 years old. I still think that cat's got he's got some fight in him. So I won't be surprised at all if he handles his business on Saturday.
All right, so where are you going to be fight night? What are you doing? What's the Chuck Mindenhall fight night setup?
So I'll be doing the post-fight, podcast with Ariel Helwani and PT Carroll. So we'll be on immediately. Aren't you guys doing the same thing? I feel like this is where we're head to head.
Fucking counter-programming,
We're head to head. I'm like,
don't watch his shit.
Yeah, dude, fuck that. You guys are like the UFC trying to counter Affliction back in the day. Come on. We were here first.
Yeah, that's true.
Yo, that was a
That's
Trump
not true.
event,
We were
bro.
first.
Okay, that was, you know.
Dude, how drunk are you? Rate it.
Yeah, I only had a couple sips on this shit, okay?
Bro, it wrecked your shit.
Yo, how
completely.
good does it feel, though, to be back under the
it's good to have you
auspices
back, dude.
of the
Look at this.
MK brand? I mean,
This is
tell
beautiful.
me
We're on a
what
rooftop.
Jersey City
We're on a
makes you
rooftop.
feel.
By the way, Jersey City is mostly urban blight. It's not quite.
Yo, it's
this.
my type of urban blight. It's not
Lower
quite
Manhattan
factory
right
town,
out there,
right?
though.
But you can see there's the Hudson right there. That's where Sully landed.
How do we get from here over to Manhattan? How do we get?
You gotta go underground.
We got to go underground where you get COVID.
Oh, come on! I set you up for that, and you didn't want to
What?
go there again. I thought you
path?
said we have to. Never mind.
Yo, we don't do Pat Tillman jokes on this show anymore, bro. If that's where you were going.
All right, all right.
So
I'm
Chuck,
gonna let it go.
I don't know where Chuck was
Yeah.
going with that, but no.
You
dude.
said that there was something edited out last time you made this joke about getting over to Manhattan. How do we get from here over to there? I was only
Right.
trying to point out an
It's
inside
a great
joke.
pull. It's a great pull.
Here we go.
Looks like, yo, if we suck a lot of dick, we'll get over to Manhattan.
I didn't. He said.
I'm not really into that.
He's
So
not- he's
Chuck,
not yet.
it has been good to see you, my friend.
Yes, it's
It has
fun.
been really good. I know we
Well-
have meandered a few times
Yeah,
during the course
Yo,
of
you
this
ever go to a
conversation.
buffet and they have too many nationalities represented where you're like, what is this buffet? Yo, you bought that China shit? Why is there chicken nuggets on that? Do you think our show is a little bit like that?
Yes, but I think you guys always go for the Rashad Evans. That's right there. You're like, oh, look at this. He's loaded up with Rashad Evans.
Bang, 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 bang,
Yo,
bang, bang.
love Rashad.
that
He's-
was
he's
like
been
when
awesome,
Matt
man.
Serra
He's
upset
awesome.
GSP. That moment right here. You know, it's like,
Hashtag
oh,
shots
Come on.
fired.
Yeah, wow.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy we can do it again. Anytime, fellas.
yeah, yeah.
The best part about this show that we just filmed was this was 3 motherfucking men putting it down in the JC.
Well, 2 men and a baby. I mean,
Yo, we were like, yo, this is how men talk, bro. Yo, we ain't about that Cosby
all right, so hold
lifestyle.
on.
This is how men talk,
So let's wrap.
right?
Let's wrap here for just a second. Okay. So Chuck, how can they find your stuff?
Well, my Twitter's probably the easiest thing,
Yeah,
at Chuck Mindenhall. And
I
my
follow
stuff
that
is at
shit.
The Ringer Spotify. The Spotify Green Room will be there every pay-per-view.
Yo, do you
and
think people will get paid for writing about MMA in the next 3 years, or is that
No.
over with? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the
seriously.
writing
can you-
aspect is dying, I feel like.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like when the whole thing, like, oh, Fox Sports pivoted to video, like they kind of botched it, but like they were halfway.
Yeah.
Luckily,
sort
we
of
still
right.
got them hot takes.
It sucks
But at
because-
what point are we only fanning this shit to keep the show alive? That's really what I gotta ask
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean?
How much are we lying just for a paycheck? I mean, what are we doing with our lives?
Yo,
this ledge.
Rooftop Diaries, bro. All right.
He was like, rooftop? I thought it was Roofeed's diary. I didn't know. All right. So that is Brian Campbell. I'm Luke Towers, of course, from Morning Kombat. You can find us all over shit.
Yeah, that's
This
it.
is Chuck Mindenhall, and if you don't already follow him, what are you waiting for? If you don't consume this
Should follow
content,
him.
what are you waiting for?
No
The
more,
official
no
third
more.
man of MK, along with Rashad,
Rashad.
co-third men. Co-third men. Enjoy UFC 266 for Brian Campbell and Chuck Mindenhall, the Iceman. I'm Luke Thomas. Have fun at the fights, y'all.
Yeah.